Yo gamers, what is up? It is your boy GoldDemon 12 with my very first Honkai Star Rail video. Today I'm going to be ranking all of the light cones within Honkai Star Rail. Shout out to Star Rail Station. This will be the resource I'm using today. Links in the description below. Go check it out if you want to look at any of its tools and fun stuff to help you throughout your journey in Star Rail. Other than that, I just want to say a couple things. Like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on the video, all that stuff, as well as don't take my word as gospel. That's it. Yeah. To start this list off, we're going to start with the destruction path light cones. First up is mutual demise. If the wearer's current HP is lower than 80%, increases crit rate by 12%. This one's okay, but again, it's a 3-star, so it's not really crazy. Plus the condition of being lower than 80% HP to gain some crit, 24, is up from 12 to 24. It's okay. I'm not really a huge fan of it because it's restricted on your HP, which is kind of better than enemy's HP in some cases, but I don't know, man. I prefer other ones. Next up is Shattered Home. Deals increased damage to enemies who are above 50% from 20 to 40, respectively. I don't know. I think this one is like about the same. Like, I think both of these are pretty bad. Honestly, I think the next one, Collapsing Sky, is far better because this one increases your base attack and skill damage by 20% up to 40%. And so when you're starting out, I feel like this one's the best one to pick. Plus, if you look at your destruction characters, right? Clara, Trailblazer, Arlen, and Hook. Hook is doing advanced normals. Arlen is sacrificing HP for his big damage, and Clara, well, her whole thing is based on counters. These two together, they're mostly doing skill and basic attacks. So I just find that that one's better, at least starting out. You're not going to use them later because they're not as good as the 4-stars, but I just think out of the 3-stars, Collapsing Sky is the best one. I'm not a huge fan of the other two. The next up is 4-star Nowhere to Run. Increases the wearer's attack by 24% up to 48%. And whenever the wearer defeats enemy, they restore HP equal to 12% of their attack up to 24% of the attack. This one's okay. It's pretty much just a stat stick. At the end of the day, it doesn't do anything special apart from giving you a ton of attack, right? And then healing on attack whenever they defeat, which is an okay effect. I mean, it's not anything crazy. I don't put too much value in the HP gain on kill, but it's alright. Next up is Wolf Walk Time. Increases the wearer's attack by 10% and increase the damage of enemies afflicted with burn or bleed by 12%. This applies to DOT. Now, I don't think this one is as good as the Nowhere to Run just because it's lower, like, it's a lower stat package all around. Like, that's lower attack on the damage dealing character, right? And that's lower percentage on the damage dealing character. This one is probably one of the weakest 4-stars in the game all around. It doesn't do much for you, and it's not that bleed and burn are bad effects. It's just they're kind of rare to come across currently in the game, as you can only get bleed right now via physical break, and then burn is RNG for most of the fire characters, or if it is a fire break, right? So it's not the best effect, plus the stats aren't really there to support it, so that one's kind of whatever. Next up is Under the Blue Sky. Increases the wearer's attack by 16%. When the wearer defeats an enemy, increases the crit rate by 12% for 3 turns. This goes up to 32 and 24 respectively. I think this one is pretty good. It's not as strong as like base stats as the other one, which this is the Battle Pass one if I'm not mistaken, right? So that kind of makes sense, but this is still a pretty solid effect. Again, on defeat, enemy defeat, I'm not a huge fan of. Like, that's not anything crazy, but it's better than Wolf Time, I would say, generally, because you're going to get a lot more out of the actual, like, buff. Plus, again, the default attack is already higher than it, and, I mean, I don't know, that's kind of it. Like, they're kind of on par, if we're being honest with you, but I don't know. I feel like the bonus crit rate and at least the AoE scenario is gonna be better. Next up, we have a Secret Vow. Is increases the damage dealt by the wearer by 20%. The wearer also does an extra damage 20% when the enemy has higher HP. This one is specifically made for Arlen, but this is like an okay effect. I mean, here's the thing. Flat damage is good, right? But then the other part of the passive you can kind of just ignore, if we're being honest with you. Because only Arlen is going to have the like negative HP basically, because he drains his own HP. No one else is going to really make use of that effect. Maybe Clara, but your Clara is supposed to tank the hits, not drain HP, right? Or like start out at low HP. And so this effect isn't really that potent. And then they like the second part of it, you're mainly just doing it for the damage percent. And again, the stats aren't like it's on par with the other ones, but you're not. It's not as good as like this one. And again, there's a difference there, but generally it's a pretty solid effect, and it's definitely better than the wolf time, I would say. All right, next up is the moles welcome you. Whenever the wearer uses a base attack skill or ultimate, the wearer gains 1 stack of mischievous. Each stack the wearer's attack by 12%. This goes up to 36% at R1, and if you do it R2, this will go up to 72%, which is really strong actually. This is probably the best of the 4 stars, and I'm actually going to move those down just to be clear. That's probably the best of the 4 stars that we have. Again, the stats are the same as the other ones, but this effect is way stronger as this is just free and it doesn't go away. It's just as simple as that. It kind of beats out all the other ones with how much attack you get just for essentially doing nothing. So I would consider it up there better than the other 4 stars. Next up is something irreplaceable. Increases the wearer's attack by 24%. When the wearer defeats an enemy or is hit, immediately restores HP equal to 8% of the wearer's attack. At the same time, the wearer's damage is increased by 24% until the end of the next turn. This effect cannot stack, can only trigger 1 time per turn. So this is obviously targeted towards Clara, but this base attack right here is still far better than every other light cone that I've gone over so far, and that just makes it the best one. You know, and again, while the other ones are strong, this is just going to be better because it has those 5-star stats and then this massive attack increase. Second to that, whenever you get hit or you defeat an enemy, which will happen because these are the damage dealing characters, and Clara is the best one here by far, you will get HP, which isn't so important on the other ones, but for Clara specifically, this is great because she is doing counters all the time, right? And she is the one that's in the front lines, you know, tanking the hits. You want this effect. It's really good on her specifically. Arlen, he doesn't want to be hit because he's already at low HP, but you know, it just based on pure stats, it's up there, right? And then of course you get the damage percent until the end of the next turn. This is really effective on Clara because again, she has those counters, so she'll get the extra damage buff on all of her counters after you get hit, right? So yeah, that's a really strong effect, and obviously it's S tier. And then last but not least of all the light cones we got here, we have On the Fall of the Aeon. Whenever the wearer attacks, their attack is increased by 8% battle, up to 4 times. When the wearer inflicts weakness break at enemies, the wearer's damage increases by 12% for 2 turns. This is a really strong effect and immediately makes this S tier because this, again, is free attack. At base, you're already getting 32% attack, which is really good. And you're just, you know, attacking, right? So that's gonna happen regardless. And then whenever you do inflict weakness break, you'll get damage percent for 2 turns, which is really strong. And again, I'm using Clara's example here because she's probably the best destruction character. You will get weakness break very fast on a physical weak boss, to where this one is by far and away the best one. And again, Clara's does compete and is arguably, I would say, probably just better because of the damage percent. But this is your best free-to-play option by far for her. And all right, next up on the rankings, we have the Hunt light cones. So for the Hunt light cones, we are going to, again, start from the bottom with Adversarial. Whenever the wearer defeats enemy, increases speed by 10% for 2 turns, up to 18. I don't think this one is that good. Again, Hunt characters are mainly single target damage, and well, I don't think you need speed. It's an okay one, but it's a 3-star, so not really too much use. Next up is Darting Arrow. This is whenever the wearer defeats enemy, gets increased attack by 24% for 3 turns, up to 48%. This one's alright, you know, it's pretty good, but again, 3-star stats, nothing too crazy here. This is my preferred one for starting out as a 3-star, is the arrows. At the start of battle, the wearer gets increased crit rate by 24% at R5 for 3 turns, and it starts out at 12%. These I'd say are both equal. I mean, again, they're 3 stars, so you're not really using these, but when you're starting out, I'd say they're both pretty good effects. Just I take more value in the crit rate for early game reasons, more specifically. Next up is Return to Darkness. Whenever the wearer's crit rate, increases the wearer's crit rate by 12%. After a crit hit, there's a 16% chance to dispel debuff on the enemy. It can only be triggered one time. Dispel a buff on the enemy. This is actually pretty good. And again, while the effect may not be crazy, this is actually pretty good for in-game scenarios, or if you are trying to, let's say, do something under level and you're dying too much, because like this can remove a damage buff from the enemy, which is going to be pretty pretty good on, like, let's say example, those robots that you fight, right? Those robots, they'll buff themselves up and then you can remove one of their buffs, right? That's a pretty solid effect, to where I think there's a noticeable jump and increase there. Next up, there is River Flows in Spring. Weird names, but yeah. After entering battle, increases the wearer's speed by 8% and damage by 12%. Whenever the wearer takes damage, this effect will disappear. This effect will resume after the end of the wearer's next turn. So there can be some downtime in this effect, but I think this one is pretty good considering you get speed and damage percentage just for basically doing nothing. Yeah, what more could you ask for, right? It's pretty good. Subscribe for more. You know what to do. This is the best light count in the game because of the name itself. It increases the wearer's basic attack and skill damage by 24, and if your energy is full, it increases by another 24, up to 48% for both of those effects. This one, again, is pretty good. It's not going to be the best because if you look at the current hunt characters, they all want to use their ultimates because they are effective. But for general damage, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You can't really go wrong with it. Swordplay. This one is probably just better than the other ones as you get raw damage percent. And at base, it's 40 damage percent just for hitting a target. And again, hunts are your single target DPS characters, so this is going to be effective, yes, primarily in boss fights. You're not going to get so much in regular scenarios, but again, that's where these characters excel, right? And so this effect on its own is already a huge damage increase, to where I would say it's better than the other 4 stars, and if we're being accurate, it's going to be there. But yeah, not much more to say on that one. Next up is Only Silence Remains. Increases the wearer's attack by 16%. If there are 2 or fewer enemies in the field, increases the wearer's crit rate by 12%. This one is really good for a 4-star, as again, it's free attack, which is nice. And then you get 12% crit rate, which is also very nice. Not much more to say on it, just strong effects for not doing a whole lot. Next up, for the 5 stars, we have Cruising in the Stellar Sea. It increases the wearer's crit rate by 8% and increases the crit rate against enemies with HP less than 50% by another 8%. Whenever the wearer defeats an enemy, the attack is increased by 20% for 2 turns. This is a pretty solid effect, and for free to play, again, this is going to be one of, if not your best option, as you can buy it from Herta Shop and freely max it out. And again, the R5 effect just doubles that, so it goes up to 16, 16, and then 40, which is just really good, to where, I mean, obviously, it's an S tier without question. Next up is Sleep Like the Dead. This is Discount Edward Elric's best, his personal light cone. And it gives you increased damage, crit damage by 30%, which is really strong. When the wearer basic attack or skill does not result in a crit hit, increases your crit by 36% for 1 turn. This effect can only trigger once every 3 turns. So this last part is very interesting because, again, it's conditional whether or not you crit or not, and then it gives you crit, which isn't bad, but then it's restricted to every 3 turns, which kind of sucks. But the crit damage increase is very nice. At R5, it gives you 50% crit damage and a 60% crit rate every 3 turns if you somehow don't crit, which, again, this isn't bad. It's just a weird passive. Like, it's better than the other light cones purely on stats alone. Like, it has, you know, summonable 5-star stats, right? But it's got a weird effect. Regardless, though, that crit damage is very nice on those characters, especially that character in particular, as, you know, he focuses on a lot of crit stacking buffs and whatnot. All right, now we have In the Night, Sealy's signature light cone. It increases the wearer's crit rate by 18%. While the wearer is in battle, for every 10 speed they have, the wearer's basic attack and skill damage is increased. The damage of the wearer's basic attack and skills increased by 6%. The crit damage of their ultimate is increased by 12%. This can stack up to 6 times. So that's going to give you a, 72% bonus on your ultimate crit damage, which is insane. And then, again, you'll get a 36% increase for your skill and basic attack damage, which that is just absurdly high. And then, again, at R5, it's 30% crit rate. And then you get 10% up to that 60% skill damage, and then 20%, so 120% ult crit damage. This one is so good, I should make a separate tier for it, but just know this is by far the best hunt light cone in the game, I would say, just hands down. Yeah, not much more to say on this besides the hunt ones. You've got a really good free-to-play option, and again, your summonable options are obviously really strong. All right, next up on the list, we have the Erudition light cones, starting with Stages. Yeah, I'm not even going to try this. The wearer increases, whenever the wearer uses their ultimate, increases attack by 24% for 2 turns. This goes up 48%. Is a pretty good starting effect for a 3-star. Yeah. Next up is Passkey. After the wearer uses their skill, additionally generates 8 energy. This effect can only be used 1 time per turn. This goes up to 12% 12 energy. This one's okay. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's probably the worst of them, to be honest with you, as I don't really think you need it. Energy is important, yes, but I don't really have issues with energy, and also I feel like the other effect is stronger, having the extra attack. Data Bank, the one I personally use, increases the wearer's ultimate damage, or I would personally use, increases the wearer's ultimate damage by 56%. This is probably the best of the 3 stars, just straight up, right? Free ults damage, can't really go wrong there. Next up is Today is Another Peaceful Day. After entering battle, the wearer's damage increases by, based on their max energy. This kind of works like Raiden's passive. At base, since we only have a, 120, like I think the highest cost currently is 120 or 130, but even still, right now, the highest buff you're going to get from this is like 24% for all damage, which is really strong. But we are waiting for a character to have a higher cost for this to be even better on. But this is one of the better 4-star options, just flat out. The Seriousness of Breakfast, this is one of my personal favorite ones, especially for free to play, of the ones you can buy from the Memorial Shop or whatever it's called. This is probably the best. So what it does is it increases the wearer's damage by 12%, and for every defeated enemy, it increases your attack by 4%. That goes up to 12 at base, and then it goes up to 4, and then 20, not 24, that is 24, but yeah, 24 and 24. This is a pretty good effect all around, as well, these are AoE characters. They're going to be doing a lot of killing mobs and whatnot, so this is one of your better options for not only 4 stars, but like free-to-play weapons in general. Next up is the Genius's Repose. Increases the wearer's attack by 16%. When the wearer defeats an enemy, the crit damage increases by 24% for 3 turns. This is a pretty solid effect, just getting free attack and whatnot, but I feel like if we're going to rank these, I feel like the other ones are better. I mean, realistically, you could say it's on par because you do get free attack, right? But I mean, it's just giving you crit damage. So this is going to be scale really well. It goes up to 32 and 48. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's on par with some of those. Next up is Make the World Clamor. Increases the wearer's... the wearer gains 20 energy upon entering battle and increases the ult damage by 32%. At R5, this is 32 energy and 64% ult damage. This one is insane and arguably the best 4-star. I mean, it's Serval's weapon, right? Actually, you know what? The energy one's better. Let's be honest with you. Free damage for everything. But this is insane. Here, let's make this a little more realistic. Probably like this. Yeah. Because, like, again, all of these, most of these, or not most, but Serval, Himiko are revolved around their ultimates, right? That's where the bulk of their damage is. And so this is just really good for them, specifically. If we're being real, though, all these are pretty equal, giving you free damage or attack for killing. I mean, can't really go wrong with any of these, can you? I feel like those are worse because it's not just flat out, but I mean, it's who's to say? They're all generally pretty good. Now we have the Birth of the Self, increasing the damage by the wearer's follow-up attack by 24%. If the HP of the current target is equal or below 50, the damage is increased by another 24%, goes up to 48%. This one is probably the worst 4-star out of what we have. Not many characters do follow-up attacks, and so it's unfortunate, but this one can't really rank too highly on the actual list, and so I'm going to put it there. And the main problem with that is, one, these AoE characters, they don't, like, the only one that does follow-up attacks currently is Herta, and she's like one of the worst characters in the game. Jing Wang is not out yet, and I still wouldn't use it on him. I think he has much better options, like, all around. Next up is Before Dawn, which is Jing Wang's signature light cone, and I'm just going to go ahead and put an S tier because it is insane. So this increases your crit damage by 36%, which is huge, and it increases the wearer's skill and ultimate damage by 18%. Again, another nice buff. After they use a skill or ultimate, they gain the Corpus stack. Upon triggering a follow-up attack, which is his, if you know how he works, his Lightning God counts as following a follow-up attack, Corpus will be consumed and increases that follow-up attack by 48%, which is, this is an absurd amount of buffs. This is by far the best of the actual Erudition light cones. And if you look at the R5, it goes up to 60%, and then you get 30% for your skill and ult, and then 80% follow-up attack damage. This one is absurd, and you can literally throw this on anyone, and it work out fine, even if they don't do follow-ups. But yeah, it's by far the best. Next up, we have Night on the Milky Way. For every enemy on the field, increases the wearer's attack by 9%, up to 5 stacks. When an enemy is inflicted with weakness break, the damage dealt by the wearer increases by 30% for 1 turn. This is an okay effect. It's not anything crazy. I mean, I'm not going out of my way to use this. Out of the free-to-play light guns you can buy, I'm not sold on this one. I mean, it's okay, but there's such a gap between these Erudition light cones, it's kind of insane. Like, Jing Wang's is by far the best, and these other ones are pretty good, with the like free-to-play option being slightly worse, in my opinion, and the other one not being nearly as strong. But yeah, that's it for the Erudition ones. I just want to give a reminder that you can get Serval's light cone for free if you do the web event. It'll be linked in the description. Just make sure you do that and only claim her light cone. Alright, the next section we got is the Harmony light cones. There's currently only 3 Harmony characters in the game, and these are your support characters. Alright, to start out with, we have Meditation. Upon battle entry, all allies receive 12 speed increase for 1 turn. This goes up to 20. I don't think this one is that good. I think it's probably the weakest of the Harmony light cones, as this, again, is only for 1 turn upon start of battle, so not really too effective. Plus, the 2 characters, Asta and Bronya, they have other ways of advancing the character speed. I just generally don't think that one is that worth it, just even starting out. Next up is Meshing Cogs. After the wearer uses an attack or gets hit, additionally generates 4 energy. This effect can only be triggered 1 time per turn. I don't think this one is that good either. I think it's on the weaker end of these Harmony light cones, just purely on the fact that, I mean, yeah, you can, every time your character goes, they're gonna get, extra energy, which is nice. But there is another 4-star that does this pretty much the same thing but better, and I honestly just think that this is not worth running early game, even though it is one of the 3 stars you're gonna get. I think the next one, Chorus, is much better. Chorus, after entering battle, increases the attack of all allies by 8%. The effects of the same type cannot stack. So this won't stack with each other, but if it is R5, which is pretty easy because it's 3-star, everyone's going to get a 12% attack increase, which I think is pretty good. In general, like, this is the best starting one, I would say, and I would definitely use this. It's what I used. Specifically on, like, Asta, as you're guaranteed to get her, right? And generally, I just think it's more effective getting the attack boost versus the other 2, right? Next up is Past and Future. What this does is when the wearer uses a skill, the next ally attacking, so the next ally in turn, will get increased damage by 16% for 1 turn, up to 32. I don't think this one is that good, to be honest with you, just because it is the next ally. This matters more on, like, Bronya, because she will advance the turn, the character, forward. And for, like, Asta or Tingyun, it's going to matter who has the next speed. And if your DPS isn't the next fastest, like, after they go, or, whatever order you have the characters with their stat distribution, then like another support or like a healer is going to get the damage boost, which, you don't want your, Bailu getting a damage boost, right? Like like that doesn't really matter. Um, and again, when you look at the effects of the other ones, I just think they're kind of better. This one's okay because you'll get raw stats, and let's say again you do have, uh, the speed on the characters to where the DPS is attacking next, then this could be pretty good. But right now, I don't really think it's that good. Next up is Dance, Dance, Dance. When the wearer uses the ultimate, all allies' actions are advanced forward by 16%. This one is pretty good. It goes up to 24%. And I mean, what can you say? Like, again, you're not getting the attack buff, right, as for like the 3-star, but on all 3 characters, you're getting advancement speed. So especially on like someone like Asta, right, who uh their ult already advances speed, you could get a turn to where everyone moves up, right? And so maybe you're not as fast characters is going to get a turn before the enemy gets in. And so that's another skill point that you can use, another ability you can use. And generally, that's just a pretty solid effect. Turn advancement, can't really go wrong with it. I know in the other one I was saying it's not really good, but that's because that's for 1 turn. This is whenever you use ultimate, so I'd say that's pretty good. Next up is Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds. Lovely Ting Wong for the picture. This one does a lot. So whenever the battle begins or the wearer's turn begins, you get one of the random effects: increased attack, increased crit, or energy regeneration rate for everyone. This effect cannot be identical to the same previous effect, so it's gonna basically be random, but it can't be the same one, so you won't get 2 turns of energy recharge, right? The applied effect will be removed whenever the wearer has been knocked down. So if they die, right, the effect goes away, and then it cannot stack, right? This goes up to 20, 24, and 12% effect, respectively. And well, this is pretty good. I would say this is probably the best Harmony light cone. Well, not the best, but one of the best. And like you can't go wrong with any of these effects. Like I think the energy regen one is probably the worst of the 3, right? Just but like especially, well, not so much on Ting Wong, but she does give energy to a specific character. But all around, like each of the Harmony members could use this and to great effect. I think it's a pretty solid light cone. Can't really go wrong with it. I mean, maybe these are too high and I should put another one up there, but this one I would say is one of the better light cones. Next up, we have Planetary Rendezvous. Upon battle entry, if an ally deals the same damage type as the wearer, the damage increases by 12%. So this one's kind of weird, is because, so we currently only have a wind, fire, and lightning harmony character, which means these are the characters you're going to be able to use it with. And that's a pretty good set of characters. However, out of the ones that are actually DPS, we're going to reduce that even more. You have a lot less of them. So like, again, Asta with Hook, Asta with Himiko, even though she's not, as crazy as some of the other damage dealing characters, it's a pretty good combo, right? Ting Yun with Jing Wang, that is insane, actually. This is one of the better light cones to run on that setup, as well. He already is doing a lot of damage, and you want to have her with him because she has some extra lightning damage effects to go with him, and it's a pretty good combo. Bronya with Dan, of course, and then obviously there's Arlen and Serval, who mentioned Ting Yun can also make great effect up. And so, yeah, it's just a really good light cone. You can't really go wrong. Like, you exist and then get the damage buff. I'd say that's pretty solid, all things considered. Next up is Memories of the Past. Increases the wearer's break effect by 28%. This goes up to 56. Whenever the wearer attacks, additionally regenerate 4 energy. This effect can be triggered 1 time per turn. I mean, this one's okay. Again, them gaining energy per attack up to 8 if it is R5 is pretty solid, because, again, you could do a normal, get extra energy from it, and that means you'll get your burst faster, which is great on all 3 of those characters. And their break effect is mainly, I would say, targeted at Asta, as she's really good at single target breaking with her skill. And I mean, I don't know. This one's good for specifically that reason. I don't think it's as good as running the other ones, just because like you can get way more damage out of, for example, the Asta one, right? Planetary Rendezvous. And so it's like, do I need my Harmony character to have more energy? Like it really depends on the setup, but I just feel like that one isn't as strong as the other options we have. Last Lastly, for this category, we have But the Battle Isn't Over. Bronia's signature light cone that you can get from the shop art base. Banner, the shop, you know what I mean. Increases the wearer's energy rate by 10% and regenerates 1 skill point when the wearer uses the ultimate on an ally. This effect can only be triggered at every 2 uses of the wearer's ultimate. When the wearer uses their skill, the next ally taking action, except the wearer, deals 30% more damage for 1 turn. So this is really good because it's giving you multiple effects, and obviously it's a 5-star, so let's just put it in S tier. Now, the reason why I'm not putting these above the other ones, because again, the effects of these other 2 are already pretty strong, and specifically Bronia's in particular is giving you a skill point. Now, while you may be like, oh yeah, move these down, right, and give Bronia's the best, I'm arguing that these are on par with this just because of the like raw damage percent you get. Now, granted, energy recharge rate, they all would like that, right? A skill point when they use an ultimate on an ally, they all do that. Versus raw damage. I mean, look, it does have that same effect I was harping on earlier, to where whenever you use the skill, the next ally taking action does 30% more. But this matters, again, as I said, more on Bronia because she advances a turn. This one is really good, don't get me wrong. But the main thing you're getting over the other 2 is the extra skill point, which is really good. But I feel like the damage and crit is pretty on par with it. But I would like to know what you guys think. This is how I would rank the Harmony ones. I don't think the 3 stars are that strong, except for maybe that one. And that one 4-star is kind of unfortunate. But you have some okay options for this, right? So yeah, on to the next segment. Alright, so next up on the list we have the Nihility light cones. This is going to be your debuffing characters. The ones that we currently have are Welt, Plat, and Sampo, or as I like to call them, Shampoo. Silverwolf and Kefka are not here yet, but they will be soon. Alright, so to start, Hidden Shadow. After using a skill, the wearer's next basic attack deals additional damage equal to 60% the attack the target enemy. This one has an okay effect. As of right now, it's not anything special, you know, it's kind of whatever. In the future, you're probably going to be using it as a 3-star for Kefka, but that's a maybe. Again, that character wants other stuff, but I'll save that for a separate video. Next up is Loop. This increases damage dealt to its wearer by increases the wearer's damage to slowed targets by 24%. This goes up to 48%. Again, this one is kind of conditional because you need someone to slow, and right now Welt is the only way, I'm pretty sure, to slow, and there probably are other sources that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But this one right now, again, isn't that good just because it is conditional on specifically slowed targets. Next up is Void. At the start of the battle, the wearer's hit rate is increased by 20% for 3 turns. This goes up to 40%. Again, this one is pretty good, but it's on the same scenario as that all the 4-stars are better than it. And again, like, for what you're doing with these characters, you're mainly using their skills to apply their effects. Not all of them need hit rate. Well, that's not true. Hit rate is good on all the characters, but for like Shampoo, for example, he wants to have increased DOT damage as well, right? That's his main thing, DOT damage. Welt, it's good on for a 3-star, so Welt can slow if you are running him more as a debuffer instead of a sub DPS. But that, again, like, those options, they're solid, but they're 3 stars. We will meet again. After the wearer uses a basic attack or skill, it deals additional damage equal to 48% of the wearer's attack to a random enemy that has been attacked. R5 is 96%. I think this one's terrible, just straight up. I don't know why you would ever want this one, to the point where I would legitimately call the 3 stars better. Like, you can say that I'm wrong with this, but why would you want a random hit to another enemy? Yes, depending on which of these debuffers, you want a ton of attack, and you do on all of them, let's be honest, right? Or you want a ton of attack on basically all of them. Welt's not so much, but Sampo, Kefka, you know, they're DOT characters, you're building a lot of attack. What reason would you want to use this effect over another one? And this is a R5 Battle Pass weapon, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, it's a Battle Pass weapon. Why would you want to use this over any other option? Like, it's not bad. You know what? I'll move it up. But it's not good either. Like, let's just be honest. Next up is Fermata. I don't know how to say that. That increases the break effect by the wearer by 16% and increases their damage to enemies afflicted with shock or wind shear by 16%. This applies to DOT. I don't think this one is that good despite Shampoo applying DOT. What it does, I don't think is anywhere near as good as the other 4-star options, as well as this is the free-to-play light cone, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually going to just pull that up real quickly. Yeah, it's the free-to-play one. You can buy it from the shop. I mean, break effect is nice, but just a mild increase in damage if they are afflicted with one of the 2 elements. Not a huge fan of this one. You've got better options. Maybe Kefka in the future. I mean, it's got her on it, but that's a maybe. I'm not super sold on it, but just when you look at the other ones, I feel like they're far better for what those units are trying to do. Resolution shines as pearls of sweat. When the wearer hits an enemy, if the enemy is not already ensnared, then there's a 60% base chance to ensnare the enemy. Ensnared enemies defense is decreased by 12% for 1 turn. This goes up to 100% chance and 16 defense reduction. This one is pretty good. Defense reduction is strong all around, and while Ple already has that, you can just stack more, right? All of them could use it, not that I would. Specifically, Ple and Silverwolf are the ideal ones for an effect like this, and I just think it's pretty good. Having defense reduction, I find, is way stronger than the other characters, or at least these other light cones provide, right? Because defense reduction, it's not on a lot of characters currently. I think it's only on Ple that comes to mind, and so again, just more of that can be insane, especially if it is on a character like Welt. If he is mainly support, he can now slow and apply defense reduction. Not that you would run that, but just an example, right? I think what that light cone provides is just better than the other ones. Now, Eyes of Prey increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 20% and increases DOT by 24%. This goes up to 40 and 48% respectively. I think this is the better of all the other options for those characters because it gives them effect hit rate, it gives them DOT damage. What more could you ask for, right? You don't need the break effect, and you don't really need the increased damage when they have DOT applied to them, right? That's just like, that's not what they want to do. They want to do damage with DOT. If you're using a 4-star option, you are using this one on those characters, specifically Kefka, Sampo, right? The other ones are more supportive and less damage dealing, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's just no contest. That one's by far the best because it's a better chance to proc their effects on an enemy and increases the damage of that. Like, can't be better than that. Next up is Good Night Sleep Well. For every debuff the target has, the wearer does increase damage, stacking up to 3 times. This effect applies to DOT. So this one is really good on the other characters being Welt, Silverwolf, and Ple, right? This will increase all 3 of those characters' damage by a very good amount as they all apply different debuffs. Silverwolf applying multiple debuffs. That's just what she does. And I'd say this one is really good just for those characters because it can allow, again, someone like Welt, if you are running him on a sub DPS role, to do a lot more damage. Now, I'm not going to say it's the best. You could argue that, but I feel like Welt's actual light cone is a bit better than that one. But again, this one is really good for those characters. Lastly, we have Welt's light cone in the Name of the World. Increases the wearer's damage to debuff enemies by 24%. When the wearer uses their skill, effect hit rate for this attack is increased by 18% and attack increases by 24%. R5 is 40% to debuffed enemies, 30% hit rate, and 40% attack. See, this one is by far the best Nihility light cone, without question. I don't even really need to explain it, but it's giving you attack, which all of them pretty much want. Like, they all pretty much want attack. Effect hit rate, which, again, gonna be good on all of them. And then it gives you damage to debuff targets, which is nice on all of them. Less so for the DOT ones. Kefka's probably going to get one more focused on DOT. That's going to be really good on Shampoo. But other than that, this light cone is really strong for this element. And yeah, this is how I would rank the Nihility light cones. Alright, next up on the list we have is what is called Preservation light cones. This is for your defense characters like Pyro MC, March 7th, and Japard. Which, again, we don't have a lot currently, so hopefully we get more, but you have a few Lycan options. So starting off with Pioneering, whenever the wearer breaks an enemy's weakness, the wearer's HP is restored by 12% of their max HP. I don't think this one is that good, to be honest with you. I think it's I'm not a huge fan of the HP restore effects on these like shielding characters, and the reason is because either they have better options for tankiness, or I find they don't really need it. Also, these restore effects are only on these lower ones. None of the other ones have the restore effects. So yeah, again, it's 3-star. These characters want just raw stats for defense, and so yeah, I just don't think the heal effect is that good. So we have the next one, defense. When the wearer unleashes their ultimate, they restore HP by 18%. And I forgot to max these out, but you're not going to use these anyways. Trust me, you're going to be using one of the abundance characters to heal instead. And plus, these are 3-stars. They're not good. It's not worth it. If you do level a 3-star, especially when you're starting out, I would level Amber. Amber is by far the best 3-star as it gives you raw defense. If you are below 50%, you get more raw defense, up to 32% for both of them, starting out at 16. And of course, you know, that stacks, so that gives you 62 or 64% defense. This one is way better than those other 3-stars. I'd argue it's like competitive with some 4-stars, even though it doesn't have the stats. Like, again, that's really low, but like, there's a big enough gap between the two that I think it's there. Next up, there's This Is Me. This is March 7th's Light Cone. Increases the wearer's defense by 16%. Increases the damage of the wearer when they use their ultimate by 60% of the wearer's defense. This effect can only apply one time per enemy target. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how this one works. I don't know how it works in the AoE scenario. Someone's going to have to test it for me. And it is a Battle Pass Light Cone, so you're going to have to pay for it, unfortunately. But I would assume this applies once per ultimate to one target. But it says this effect can only apply one time per enemy target. So maybe, because again, the two defense characters that do damage with their ult is March and Trailblazer. I don't know if that damage buff is only to one enemy or if it's to all enemies, right? I'm assuming this is one-time use to all enemies based on the wording, because it says it can only apply once per target. So that means after the first ultimate, your ultimates will do less damage. Your other ultimates will do less damage, I think. I could be completely wrong there. I don't know. But regardless, this is a paid 4-star. It's got good stats for what the characters want to do, and it gives you defense increase. And this goes up to 32% and 120% respectively. I think this is good regardless of how the passive works. That's the wrong one. And I'm still going to rank it high, like decently high. I've just look, it's not bad, all right? Let's get out of the way. It's not bad, right? Yeah, that's it. The extra defense is what you're looking for anyways. Next up is We Are Wildfire. This reduces the damage dealt to all allies by 8% for 5 turns. At the same time, immediately restores HP to all allies, 30% respective HP, blah, blah, blah. We're not in it for the HP. We're in it for this damage reduction part. This is 8% at the start, and it goes up to 16% for 5 turns. Now, 5 turns is pretty solid. However, I don't think this one is nearly that strong, because a lot of these longer fights, especially boss fights, are going on for longer than 5 turns. Like at the end of Forgotten Hall, right? And I'm not even too sure about Chaos memory, but these fights go on for longer. Like you start the initial wave of like, you know, like ads, and then you fight the actual boss. And so this effect is going to run out by the time you would need it during the actual boss fight. And again, this is still a solid effect all around. Like, you know, you get damage reduction on everyone, and especially on Trailblazer, right? Giving themselves damage reduction by up to like 50% or even more on their skill. And then via their passive that gives everyone 15% damage reduction. You can get a lot of tankiness on the whole team by running this. But you're still capped out for those 5 turns, right? And it's going to be 5 turns of the wearer. So if you wanted to optimize this, it's probably best. Well, I'm not going to say that. Look, point is, keep in mind that this is restricted. It's not a bad one, but you are restricted. Next up is Trend of the Universal Market. This one increases the wearer's defense by 16% up to 32%. And when the wearer is attacked, there's a 100% base chance to burn the enemy for each turn. The wearer deals DOT that is equal to 40% of the wearer's defense by 2 turns. This goes up to 80%, 120 base chance. Now, this one is okay. Now, I will say something, though, that is going to be interesting for a lot of certain players out there. Right now, this effect isn't that good, and it's actually probably worse than those two. However, when Kefka comes out, you're going to get a lot of use out of this on your Trailblazer, specifically, or Japard. Now, here's why. Now, I would prefer you to run Trailblazer so that you could have a burn break, because they're better at breaking than Japard, because Japard doesn't hit with his ult. But like, for example, Kefka does most of her damage by instantly proccing DOT. This is a way to reliably get burn DOT on a team and still run a defense character that you would not get otherwise, right? This unlocks a huge, this unlocks your team setup to run different variety of characters, and this is a huge increase of damage for Kefka specifically. This is what you're going to be looking out for, Kefka players. Right now, it's not that good, but trust me, I will explain it more if I do a Kefka video. This is one you want to keep your eye out for to see how effective it will be when she comes out, just because it's more reliable burn procs, right? Landu's Choice. This just increases your damage reduction and gives you aggro, goes up to 24%. This one is so good that I think it competes with the 5 stars, because here's the thing. Yes, you're not getting raw stats, but specifically for like the MC or Japard, it gives them huge damage reduction, and you cannot go wrong with that. They both want to be hit, because Japard's going to have a hard time to get his burst, and MC wants more damage reduction so they can sit there and tank the hits, right? It's really good. It's what I've been using this whole time, and it's like, you can't go wrong with this, except if it's on March 7th. March 7th doesn't really want to be hit, but again, huge damage reduction, aggro, it's great for those characters. It is, again, having lower stats than some of the other 4 stars, you know, I can forgive it, honestly, because that damage reduction is the main target there. Just saying. All right, next up is Day 1 of My New Life. Increases the wearer's defense by 60% after entering battle. Increases the damage resistance of all allies by 8%. Effects of the same type cannot stack. So this is a really strong effect. Let's just say that, be honest. You get 24% defense after entering battle. Increases the damage resistance of all allies by 12%. Like, come on. What are we doing here? Hoyoverse, huh? If I could actually find where it is. This is one of the better light cones, just straight up. It's free defense, free res. I mean, if you want to argue, you can put these down here. You know, it's here or there. But that one is really good. Damage res and defense for your character. This is good on all of them, just flat out. Yeah, do I need to say more? Next up is Texture of Memories. So this one's a bit more conditional. Again, you're gonna have those 5-star weapon stats, but its actual effect is a bit different. So it gives you effect resistance, so that's resistance to debuff, like RNG, right? Debuff percentage, like your chance to be hit by a debuff. But its main effect here is that when you have no shield, you gain a shield. Like whenever you attack, if you have no shield, you gain a shield equal to 60% of your max HP, and this can only be triggered every 3 turns. If you have a shield active, the wearer receives decreased damage by 12%. So this is 12% damage reduction if you have a shield up, but then you also get the effect res, and it gives you an HP shield every few turns. So again, this one's weird. The main thing you're doing it for is the stats, honestly. This is again, out of the free-to-play weapons, it's tough to decide between the ones you actually want to get, because this effect can actually be decent. It doesn't sound that decent on paper, but in actuality, because of how the MC gives shields to everyone and wants to be aggroed, this is free damage reduction that they will have up at like all times. And while the shield itself isn't the tankiest, because these are, again, are all defense scaling characters currently, this is still a solid effect, because this means you can have a shield up basically at all times with the MC, and you do anyways, but this can give you like a little bit stronger shield, and then you still receive damage reduction. And then of course there's the effect res, which isn't really important, but like it's hard for me to say that this is better than the other ones, but in how it performs in the actual game, considering how Japard has the insanely tanky shields and how Trailblazer functions, I feel like it's pretty solid. I wouldn't necessarily use it on March, even though you could, because it has raw stats, right? It can perform on par or not if not better than the other ones, but it's, I don't know, it's a bit iffy. Like some of these 4-stars, I feel like the performance is about on par with that one, but again, if it were me, I would pick just Lando's choice to put up higher. That's about it. All right, last one of the preservation is Moment of Victory. Increases the wearer's defense by 24% and affect hit rate by 24%. This is great because, again, both March and Japard would want effect hit rate because, specifically Japard, because his rate is already kind of low, and then the raw defense is perfect for all these characters. And then it increases the chance for the wearer to be attacked, which is not good on March because she doesn't really want to be attacked. She wants someone else to be attacked, right? The wearer, of course, you could just, put the shield on her if you really want, but yeah. When the wearer is attacked, it increases their defense by an extra 24% until the end of the wearer's turn. This is great on Japard because this will stack his defense so he can get really strong shields, and the MC because the MC's damage for the ult scales on defense. And again, this will help the MC shields and all that as well. I think this is a really strong effect and by far the strongest 5-star light cone, especially for MC. And I mean, yeah, not really much to say. Again, some of these 4-stars are debatable, right? Because this says damage res of all allies, so that actually makes me assume, again, I don't remember because it's been so long since I've actually used this, but I'm going to assume it's these damage resistances, right? You get 8% to everything. So that, again, that's still pretty good. It's not the same thing as just flat out damage reduction, but it's pretty much the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, this is how I'd rank the preservation light cones. All right, and last of the light cone rankings, we have the abundance light cones, aka the healers, which we only have 2 of. There's a 3rd one coming soon, but right now there's only 2 healers, so yeah, this is basically just for them. It's gonna be a little bit weird, but you'll see. Yeah, so multiplication is the first one. After the wearer uses base attack, the next action will be advanced forward by 12%. This goes up to 20%. I don't think this one is that good, and yeah, you don't really need advancement on these healer characters. They're there to do normals to gain a skill and then heal later with their ults, etc. It's okay. I could like it's a 3-star, and yeah, advancement's like solid, but it's not really important. All right, so next one is Find Fruit. At the start of battle, immediately generate 6 energy for all allies. This goes up to 12 energy for all allies. This is an okay effect. That's the wrong one. Yeah, again, depending on the team, energy is not really an issue, and it depends on what other light cones the other characters have, right? But this effect on the healer is actually pretty solid. It's just, again, it's a start of battle buff, right? You won't get it. You'll get it at the start of battle. And that's it, right? It's very, very simple in that regard. Next up is Cornucopia. This is whenever the wearer uses a skill or ultimate, their outgoing healing increases by 12%. And this goes up to 24%. I think Cornucopia is better because I want my healers to mainly heal. I don't put too much value in the energy, but I can definitely see a reason why you would want to run it over the other. But again, it's a 3-star. Next up is Warmth shortens cold nights, increases the wearer's max HP. When the wearer uses a basic or skill, restores allies' HP equal to 2% their respective HP. This one is pretty good, and maybe I'm putting it too high on the rankings, but I mean, like, again, HP is good on both of them, and then both of them using their basic or skill, restoring extra HP, is a pretty good effect, right? Sure, they already heal enough, but like, I mean, come on. What hurts? More healing or more healing? Like, next up is Quid Pro Quo. At the start of the wearer's turn, generate energy 8 energy for a randomly chosen ally, excluding the wearer when the current energy is lower than 50%. I don't think this one is that good, to be honest with you. I don't like the fact that it's RNG and that it is restricted to being below below 50%. And again, this goes up to 16 energy. It's okay. It's good. Like, again, it gives you max HP plus energy. Or sorry, it's just energy, not max HP. I don't know where I got that from. Yeah, it's just energy. And it's an okay effect, but I'd rather have my healer heal more than randomly give someone energy if their energy is low, you know? Because you already gain so much energy from your skills and whatnot, and again, being hit. I don't really think it's that good, to be honest with you. Next up is perfect timing. Increases the effect rate of the user and increases outgoing healing based on the amount of the effect rate. This can be the healing can be increased by 50% of the effect rate. This goes up to 32% effect. Effect res, not hit rate. My bad. And then 45% of that again, and then it's caps out at 27%. So this one I think is worse. None of the healers currently do anything with effect hit rate. Yeah. Yeah, so like here's the thing. This has the stats, right? Let's be real. It has the stats. But when you compare it to like this and they all want raw HP, look at that. It's the same. It has 3 stars. I didn't know that. I mean, the attack is higher. Same with the defense. Okay, currently this thing is garbage. Maybe Lucha or whatever the guy's name is wants this. I don't remember. But this thing is like what? I didn't even notice that. It has so the 2 current healers that want HP. This thing has lower the same HP as a 3-star without the heal bonus or energy gain. I had a lot of this all thought out in like notes, but like, wow, that's actually worse now that I'm thinking about it. What the? Is the 3-star better? I don't know. Listen. I don't think you should be building full effect resistance on a healer. And I don't know why. Okay, we're just gonna move on, but this thing is terrible. Shared feeling is the next one. Increases the wearer's outgoing healing by 10% when the wearer uses a skill, generate 2 energy for all allies. This, I think, is far better than the other one because, again, it's energy for all allies and it's at all times. Whenever you use a skill, mind you, which, sure, it's not consistent because you have to use a skill and a healer, blah, blah, blah. Look, you get outgoing healing, which I think is a pretty strong effect, and based on the list, I am ranking them next to each other. So, you know, whatever. I didn't put it lower or whatever. Whatever. Let's move on. Next up is post-op conversation. Increases the wearer's energy regeneration by 8% and increases outgoing healing when they use their ultimate by 12%. Again, this is good on both of them, just flat out. I think all the 4-stars in this regard are equal except for that one. Again, they're all giving you similar effects. None are too outstanding. I mean, maybe the 2 that give you energy, but again, I kind of weigh more on the heal. This one is pretty good though, all things considered. Yeah, that's about it. Lastly, Bailu's. So Bailu's gives you, it's called Time Waits for No One. It gives you increased max HP, increased outgoing healing, which again is already huge for all those characters. Whenever the wearer attacks, whenever whenever they heal, they record that healing and then they output that damage based on that healing amount or based on a percent on that healing amount to another target whenever another ally attacks. That's what it does. And here's the thing, this one's okay, but I don't think it's by far and away the best. I think it's about on par with the 4-stars. I know this list looks weird, but if I'm gonna go based on personal preference, I'm actually gonna do it like this. I'm gonna put those 2 above the other ones, just because what they provide, I think, is way better than, well, okay, that one does give extra healing. It's hard to rank these specifically because they are so close into what they actually want to do for each of the characters, you know, based on stats and based on, this one has higher stats actually, but again, just based on the stat package and the actual effect on each of them, they're all pretty close. I mean, Bailu's will net you the most overall healing because, again, the healing percent and the actual stats for the characters. Again, this with the 30 and the 20%, and you get 60% damage. So this is the one I personally use because I did actually get it from the gacha. But they're all so close in performance, it's really hard to say. I would say hers is the best for that reason because it allows you to do extra damage for basically existing, right? It's a healer, they're going to heal, you know, that's free damage. It's not like the other light counts where it becomes an issue, but yeah, I don't know. This is where I would rank these. I was not aware that that one 4-star was that bad. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, honestly. I'm gonna, again, save this, so ignore that. But yeah. Alright, gamers, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.